Okay, let me set up the context for you today. I'm in Irvine. This is the high rent district here in Southern California. And I mean the high rent district because it's the business community. Got all the high rises going on. Today I'm working under sunny conditions. It's supposed to be a high of 78. Not too bad for the middle of winter time. So what I'm working on is a brand new Lexus F Sport. It's a hybrid. Now, this is the second time I've been out for this car. Now, this car, a little context here, has 988 miles on it. What happened originally is he called out a low-budget guy to come out and remove one of the emblems off his car. The guy jacked it up. So now he gets to pay to have it fixed, which is where I come in. So he learned the hard way, which he admitted. So I did the repair, and this was last week. But after I did the repair, because he was so over the top with excitement, you know, the guy's like wetting himself because I fixed what this guy screwed up. Now, I did not fix it perfectly, but the amount of gouges that this guy put in and removing the emblem were pretty significant, and it actually came out better than I even anticipated. So as he says, "Oh, Darren, I just can't thank you enough. It looks awesome." So he goes, "I will sleep so much better tonight." He says, "You cannot believe how much I've obsessed over that." So that's something, this is kind of a learning moment for guys getting into the business, is that when it comes to new cars, people are very emotionally attached to their new car. That kind of like that honeymoon stage, it needs to wear off, it needs to dissipate. Now, the good news is that because it's still new for them, it's like their new toy, they want to spend money on it, they want to get it detailed, they want to get it all pampered. But then life gets in the way, and that emotional attachment, that charge that they got when they bought the car, it just goes away. And then they care less and less about their car. So the good news is that they call someone like me out because they just want to pamper it and baby it, and they talk about how they're going to take care of it for years and years and years, and they just want it to stay perfect and all this good stuff, which is good for us. But that also represents a problem because they're so emotionally attached to it that the pressure is like, unbelievable. They look at every little speck of dust, especially this car, and I'll take you for a little tour. Every little speck of dust, and that's the kind of the irony of the moment. Is I've read on some other channels that these people will make posts and they'll say, "I hate when these detailers, they show these perfect cars and they detail them, and it's just like, woo, who couldn't do that?" It's like, well, it just represents a different challenge. The challenge is to get it like seriously perfect, where literally every speck of dust will be micro-analyzed. Secondly, how to manage in people's expectations. It's like you seriously have to be like this pseudo shrink for them. Like, okay, we need to sit down, Mr. Customer, and we need to have a little one-on-one shrink session here so I can reel in your expectations so you can become a little what's called non-attached to your car that you have become so emotionally attached to. I mean, I get it, but it's the real world. It's a jungle out there. It's messy. Things get dirty. Stuff happens on the road. You take chips. So this guy literally went around and picked out these little chips, these little micro imperfections that you seriously would never ever see. And even when he's looking at it, unless you're in the right light, you can't see it. It's like, oh my gosh. So the pressure just builds and builds and builds. The expectation is just like, wow, what do I do? So one of you wrote in and says, "Hey Darren, how do you know when to walk away from a detail?" Trust me, I've had my spider senses go off many times where it's like, you know what? Maybe this is one of those moments where I need to walk away. The problem with that is a couple of things. As a person, I love a challenge, and it's always a learning curve. Even if it doesn't turn out perfectly, this is where your skills come in, and you learn to develop skills, you learn how to talk to people, and you really have to put the leash on them, and rein them in just like a dog. You've got to be the pack leader, and you've got to be able to talk them down off the edge of the cliff and manage their expectations, because a lot of people, when they're this emotionally attached to something, their expectations are inappropriate. They're just unrealistic. So as we're walking around this car, and this happened the first time, where he's showing me the stuff, and I'm just going, okay, Darren, this might be a guy that will never be happy, because I've had those customers, and coincidentally, I have made them happy. Okay, but I can tell, and they've gone through detailer after detailer after detailer, and I may be number 5 down the list of detailers that they've tried and thrown out the door, and I have made them happy because I'm very hyper vigilant, and I know how to basically kind of talk them off the edge of the cliff. But it is difficult and does require some experience. So this guy, my spider senses were going off, where it's like, okay, this could be one of those moments. Now, fortunately, I didn't, because now he loves me and he's called me back and he wants more of what I deliver, which is great service and good skills. So, but I was very tempted. Then another problem with that is that when you take the time to travel somewhere, because you can assess a lot on the phone, you know, if you're a mobile guy, or even if you had a shop, you know, your first initial contact usually is on the phone. So generally people, A, do not know how to communicate very well. B, they have an agenda, which is they want to kind of misrepresent, not maliciously, but they want to misrepresent so that A, they get what they want out of the equation, and they want to make sure that they get you out there to do the job. The last thing they want to hear is like, you know what, I don't think we're going to be a good fit, or I think you have unrealistic expectations, and my guess is that there's a theme in your life, which is you're never happy. So I'm going to pass, okay? That's the last thing they want. They just want what they want. So they're going to kind of spin it. It's like kids, you know. Kids are the masters of spinning anything so that it fits their agenda. To simplify, it's kind of like, hey, if you're getting the wrong answer, go ask mom or go ask dad. And kids learn very quickly which parent's going to say yes and which parent's going to say no. So they already know where to start. So adults do the same thing. They just do it in a more adult-like fashion, use more adult-like words. So it can be very dicey at times. And if you've spent the time to travel out to the location, whether it's 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, it's like, hey, there's my time. What do I want to do? Walk away empty-handed? I think not. So that's what's tough. It's like your spider senses might be saying walk away, or maybe even run away as fast as you can, because this is a no-win proposition. But I don't know, you've got to look at it as like, A, I'm going to learn, even if it doesn't work out perfectly, I'm going to do my best, and C, maybe I'll be able to learn how to talk to people, manage their expectations. And that's why I spend a good length of time on the phone prior, asking those right questions to draw out as much information, because you'll learn. People will say certain things, certain phrases that will suggest it's like, okay, this guy really is hypercritical. So you'll learn that along the way, and unfortunately there's only so much talking that can teach you that kind of stuff. You'll just have to learn a lot of it through experience, and people will bully you. Not physically, okay, but they'll bully you because they'll be like, hey, well, can't you get that out? Surely you can get that out, and I can still see it. And because you're unsure as to what is realistic, because maybe you lack a little bit of experience or enough experience where you yourself are unsure, because in your head you're going to be thinking, well, maybe a detailer with more experience would be able to get this, and that might be true, okay, but you just don't know. And so therefore you're in a vulnerable position, because Johnny customer comes in and says, hey man, you should be able to get that, or I want that out, or whatever, and they could bully you, and then you can feel pressured, and then next thing you know, you're like, oh well, I couldn't get it perfectly, so maybe I'll take off $20 or $50 from the job just so they're happy, when the reality is nobody can get it. You know why? Because it's just unrealistic expectations. So let me use a very specific example. And I hope this is showing up. So on this lens, he's got a clear plastic lens over the instrument cluster. There's a scratch that goes about 5 inches right across this. Now I know if I had the proper tool, which is a little tiny buffer pad and a little tiny buffer that could fit in here, I could fix that. But it's just unrealistic. I just have rarely have I had to deal with this. So this is just where I simply say, you know what? It's unrealistic. If I try to polish this out by hand, which is what I would have to do, then you're gonna see my like swirl marks from my hand. It's unrealistic to think that I can duplicate with my hand what I can accomplish with a machine. So therefore, you have to be able to stand there with resolve and confidence and say, you know what? I wish I could do it. Trust me, I want it as bad as you. But it's just, I feel that what would happen is that we would be trading off a smaller problem for a bigger problem. And once I ring that bell, there's no unringing that bell. So we need to live well enough alone, or I'm sorry, we need to leave well enough alone. And sometimes you just have to have that direct conversation with people and say it with confidence, because you are the expert. You may not know everything. I don't know everything, but I know enough to know and when to say it's like, hey, you know what? It's just unrealistic, Johnny customer. I'm gonna see if we can see this scratch, if it will show up. It's right through here, goes the length of that. I have no idea if it's going to show up in this lighting, but this is where I told him, it's like, hey, you know what, I'll do what I can do, and all I'm going to do for that, honestly, is take some wax and with a perfect microfiber and see if I can maybe cover it up a little bit. But I myself don't have unrealistic expectations. So the second point of this is it's a brand new car. I've already essentially detailed this side. It's got this really cool material. I'm pretty sure it's not leather. It's got like this pattern, this striped pattern on it. It's very cool. You know, 10 on the cool factor. It's a Lexus hybrid. You can see it's dirty. And you see that dirt? This is what we call dirt in California. And I know a lot of you are laughing because it's like, what a joke. And I agree, you know, but I'm not going to kick it out. F-Sport, this is where he had the emblem removed. You can see a couple little spots that I had to fill with touch-up paint, wet sand it, buff it, and this is as good as it's going to get unless you want to take it to a body shop, and then suddenly we're at $800 to $1,500 for a fix. I have this blue tape here because he went around and he showed me all these little micro imperfections that I know I would never be able to find. So I used some blue painter's tape, like right down there at the front. I mean, look at this. He's got these tiny little scratches on the front end. You know, he drives on the freeway and it's like, dude, you know, it's called the freeway. It's called road rash. There's no way you're not going to get something on it. So here's another little something that I have to look in the right light to even find. So I'm going to spend a couple hours detailing, polishing this car. We've got this gorgeous day here in Irvine, the high rent district. Not a stitch of cloud in the sky. Gotta love it. I know I do. It's supposed to be about 78 degrees today in the middle of winter. So I will take it all day long. Okay, as an added note, and this is a general rule, that I do not make an executive decision to just do anything when it comes to a car. For example, it's a brand new car, as we have noted. It's got this silly yellow tag. Welcome to the overregulation of government. So my natural inclination would be to, well, who wants a stupid yellow tag? I mean, if the guy is this, you know, anal retentive, it's like, of course he wants this removed. But I promise you, just when you think, see, the problem is now you're applying logic to an illogical situation. Because when someone's this emotionally attached to a car, it's not about logic, it's about emotion, and you will never get it right. Now, you might get it right if you're lucky, but to apply some logic and to think that, oh, well, this guy is so hyper vigilant, he's hypercritical, this is just an eyesore, of course he's going to want it removed. I can promise you that in 99% of the time you remove that, and he'll come out and he'll say, oh, hey, what'd you do with that yellow tag? Did you remove it? Because in their illogical world, what's happening is that, like, once you remove this, now the car is tainted. No longer is the car new again. And the same thing will happen like when people get a new car and they refuse to put the license plates on it, because now no longer is it new. I'm telling you, it is a mind F, you know, and it's just illogical. So don't try to apply logic to what I call an illogical situation. Okay, I got to bring you in for my yet additional random moment that just perplexes me forever. And this is why I get so spun out on the forums, or people that write in and they want to just, these comments, they're just so unrealistic. So for example, here we have this guy. You obviously have a pretty good idea of who I'm dealing with. So he comes out and his car's covered because we have the past weekend we got rain here in California. So there's some dirt from rain, accumulated dirt, whatever. So how many of you detailers would come out here and rub your finger on this? Okay, I wouldn't do it because there's granules in this dirt. And so you're gonna scratch it. Now it's a light colored car, so the chances of you actually being able to see that are minimal, okay? But nonetheless, who would ever do that? So this guy comes out, and the back bumper here was even thicker in dirt than up here. And he goes, oh yeah, Darren, there's this scratch I want you to see. So he takes his finger and starts rubbing it. And inside of me, I'm just recoiling in panic, going, oh my gosh, dude, you're gonna scratch your car. But I know it's minimal, and it's not the end of the world. It's just, I find it perplexing and confusing that a guy that's that hypercritical, he's gonna be so unaware. And ignorant is what it really comes down to, is that as a professional detailer, you are dealing with a lot of ignorance. And so this is what I find amusing, is that like on the forums, these guys will talk about the two bucket wash method, all in the name of diminishing or the risk of transferring dirt from your wash bucket onto the paint. So you have the one wash bucket that you rinse your pad out with, the dirty pad, then you have the second wash bucket, and then you can proceed to wash, all in the hopes of diminishing, limiting the scratches and removing this kind of dirt. I get it. It's what I call risk management. But it's just unrealistic, because I've seen customers on their $200,000 cars come out and they'll set their coffee cup on the top of the car or the trunk, and I know that leaves a ring. And I don't mean a ring of liquids, of coffee or whatever, literally a ring of scratches, because usually underneath those ceramic coffee mugs or whatever, it's actually rough. And I go into a panic, and it's like, oh my gosh, how can you do that? So the point is it's so unrealistic to sit here and think about, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna spend all this extra time and do a 2-bucket wash method, and this guy will think, oh wow, this guy's a real expert. He's doing two bucket wash method. He's really trying to protect my car. When the guy comes out and rubs grit right into his paint, how does that make sense? So I don't try to reinvent the wheel. That's information for me where it's like, okay, clearly this guy's ignorant. If the topic comes up, I'll have to inform him. It's like, hey, sorry to inform you, but you just put scratches in your paint when you rubbed it. So, and it's like, I'm going to use an absurd moment here to illustrate the point. It's like, why has it become okay for a 2-bucket wash method? Why not have 3 buckets? Would not 3 be better than 2? Think of all the dirt we could diminish and the transfer if we did 3 buckets. and then it's going to be 4 buckets, and then 5 buckets. I mean, do you get my point? I mean, if your audience can't perceive the imperfections and they don't have a trained eye and they're just that ignorant, then it's like you're spinning your wheels, because time is money, and most car owners don't understand what it's like to run a business, and you have to remain profitable, because guess what? If you're not profitable, you're not in business, and you can't come out and do this fabulous job on their car because you are not profitable, and therefore you will not be in business. And so it just spins me out of control when I hear these, and that's why the forums are such a frustrating arena for myself. And in so many ways, I want to just say to everyone, it's like, you know what, stay away from the forums. So many of the people there, they just use it as their platform to regurgitate their agenda or their so-called expertise, and they can use all these glorified terms that really, what are they actually saying? You know, there's so many terms that are so undefined by the masses that when people use them, it's like, oh, well, sounds cool, sounds like he knows what he's talking about, but I don't know, what is he really saying? And you walk away confused and frustrated, you know, and you feel like you're just chasing your tail from one opinion to the next. Anyhow, that's my little rant for the moment, and I thought this car was a perfect moment to illustrate something that is a very common thing. You know, here we have, it's such a contradiction. Here we have a guy that's so hypercritical, and yet he comes out and scratches the dirt away with his finger so he can show me a scratch that he wants taken out, but in the process adds additional scratches for me to take out. Now, talk about a contradiction. Okay, let me wrap this up real quick. I just texted my customer to let him know that I'm coming. Without shooting this video, this took 2 hours. Like, you know, there really wasn't much to it. Obviously, the inside was a no-brainer, other than you just have to be so hypercritical. Every spot, every speck of dust is going to show. So that part drives you crazy. Anyhow, but it's the outside. And to go back to that original question, when to know to walk away, maybe what I was thinking about is not so much when to walk away from a customer, but when to walk away from a customer's request. So for example, because I know that this guy resides at a certain level of ignorance as to how paint and the nuances of detailing. So when he asked me originally to come out and fix this area, which I did, and I had to do extensive color sanding, I know now that the clear coat on this area is thinned out already. There's only so much clear coat you have to work with. And once you run out of that clear coat and you sand away or polish away that clear coat, it will change the color of the base coat. So this is where you have to understand the limitations of not only your skill set, but the limitations of the material world in which you're working. So you may have to tell the customer, it's like, hey, you know what? The reality is you may get a scratch here again in the future. So maybe it might be more realistic to just diminish the scratch instead of actually sanding it away, polishing it, because then if you get another scratch, and some places are just prone to scratching. He wanted me to polish this area. So I have to pull back, literally take in, as I say, all the variables, all the data, and come to an appropriate decision. And that's where experience comes in, because you may, there's my phone, you have to come to an appropriate conclusion based on the bigger picture, not just your agenda, but your customer's agenda, and moving forward with the car, all the variables involved. So, and by the way, this is for you beginners out there, there's nothing wrong with not knowing everything, okay? Nobody does, myself included. So if you have to say to Johnny customer, hey, you know what? To be honest with you, this is beyond my skill set. Perhaps I could help you find someone that could address this problem, because often when you talk to a customer on the phone, they won't tell you everything. And today was a perfect example. When I got out here, I was just going to do a detail. Suddenly he's going around his car and picking out all these little scratches. And so you may be kind of caught with your pants down, and it's like, hey, you know what? I'm here to detail the car. I can do an excellent job for you, but this is either beyond my skill set, and it can be that simple. It's like, hey, you know what? There's nothing wrong with admitting your limitations. And I think people will appreciate your honesty and say, you know what? As much as I would love to do it for you and be able to resolve that problem, I just don't think it would be safe for me to do it and to use your car to practice on. So like I said, I can help you find someone that can, but for the time being, I'm here to do what we originally talked about, and I can do an excellent job for you. And that's why I say is you don't have to know everything at the beginning. That's the good news. You can work your way up to it. Maybe you just want to specialize in washing, claying, and waxing. Then approach polishing, whatever, go down the list. Over the years, I've added more and more tools or services. I do vomit cleanup, I do gel coat restoration, decal removal, scratch repair, paint touch up. So I'm very diversified that way. Emblem removal. So, but don't think you're going to get it all at once. Just go in baby steps, learn the basics. That's the problem with the forums, is you're going to get all bogged down with jumping ahead, you know, as the saying, putting the cart before the horse. Just reel yourself in, focus on the basics, and go from